In Project Economy news, unemployment went down from 9.9% to 9.7% in May, and there was an increase of 431,000 jobs, according to a new Labor Department report out today. Now, taking a look at the stock market, and look, investors are not reacting well to this news, actually. The Dow is down 239 points. The Nasdaq is down 50 points. And in local stocks, let's take a look at those. Maui Land and Pine is down 2 cents. Alexander and Baldwin down 34 cents. Bank of Hawaii down 156. And Hawaiian Electric is down 32 cents. Now, to sort all of this out for us is Carl Bonham. He's from the University of Hawaii Economic Research Organization that joins us every Friday morning to talk about Project Economy. Good morning, Carl, and thank you so much for joining us. So can you sort all this out for us? It seemed like good news, but that's not really the case.
Well, any other time period, 431,000 jobs would be good news. The problem here is that 411,000 of those were census jobs. So these are temporary jobs. The census has hired over 500,000 people so far, and the biggest increase was in the month of May. And economists and stock analysts were expecting a lot more. They were expecting 550,000 total jobs.
Right. This is way beyond expectations, and thousands of census jobs across the country. When are those coming to an end now?
Well, you'll actually begin to see them taper off next month. And so if you want to know the underlying sort of trend in the economy, you take those census jobs out. And when you do that, you're left with about 20,000 net job increase. And that simply is not enough to sustain, to really, be a signal of a strong recovery.
Right. And what about those census jobs in Hawaii? What was the impact here?
Well, we don't have the data for May yet. Okay, we'll get that at the end of the month. And I would expect that we're going to see something on the order of 1,000-person increase in the federal employment category, which is where the census workers would show up. And again, those will be temporary jobs, and then they'll start to taper off in June. As
anyone knows who's looking for a job, it is really difficult out there. And we were just talking during the break, some people are just giving up their search.
Right. That's actually why the unemployment rate went down. So the unemployment rate fell from 9.9 to 9.7%, and the primary reason was because people left the labor force. The number of unemployed people stayed about the same, but the labor force shrank.
And let's change topic right now and talk about the BP oil spill. There's an economic impact here. One, it's costing BP at this point $1 billion, a huge figure. But also, what's the impact to the overall U.S. economy?
Well, the problem is really centered, of course, immediately in the Gulf Coast area. This is the beginning of the most important period of time for tourism, and Florida's economy, tourism is huge. There's several $billion, $2.5 billion worth of economic activity in tourism, and thousands of jobs. And I actually grew up on the Gulf Coast. Actually used to work in the fishing industry there, and the fishing industry is being devastated right now. And those beaches, what's happening is the oil is starting to reach the Alabama-Florida coast, which is, if you've ever visited that part of the country, it looks a little bit like Waikiki. It's lined with hotels. And so in the June report, we'll start to see the effect on tourism, particularly in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, and also in Louisiana.
It's interesting how everything is connected, and you look at the jobs there. I mean, it's not only fishing jobs, it's not only tourism, but you talk to the restaurant owner, the small business owners, the homeowners there. Everything is connected. That's
right. Now, in the very near term, there's kind of a gray lining where you're going to see an input of funds, or BP is spending money to clean up, and they're moving in workers, and there'll be federal workers, and so you have a little bit of a stimulus. But the long-term effect is really on the cancellation at the hotels and people not wanting to come back to those beaches for an extended period of time, because you're going to be walking on the beaches and stepping on tar balls for years.
Do you see any direct impact to people in Hawaii? I know it's so far away, but as we always mention, this is a global economy.
Well, the direct impact is really the environmental disaster that we're experiencing, and that will spill over into new regulation. And there's a chance that we'll actually see a little bit of an increase in tourism, but I don't think it's not something that you'll likely be able to measure, given the increase in tourism that we're already going to experience from added airlift and things like that, and just the rebound in the Hawaii economy.
All right, well, very interesting. Carl Bonham, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you guys from the University of Hawaii Economic Research Organization next week, Friday, and we'll be